I'm 85 years old, and I've only just understood something that followed me my entire life. I was lonely, even when the room was full. I'm saying this now because there isn't much time left to say it. I don't need agreement. I don't need forgiveness. I just don't want this to stay locked inside me anymore. These days, my mornings are slow. I wake up before the sun, not because I want to, but because sleep doesn't hold me the way it used to. I sit on the edge of the bed and listen to the house breathe, the ticking clock, the refrigerator humming, sounds I used to ignore when the house was louder. I've outlived most of the people who knew me when I was young. That does something to your sense of reality. It makes your memories feel heavier than your body. Sometimes I feel like I'm made more of the past than the present. People assume loneliness looks obvious. They imagine someone forgotten, sitting by a window, waiting for footsteps that never come. That wasn't me. I was married. I had children. I worked. I attended birthdays and weddings. I shook hands. I laughed when it was appropriate. That's what makes this harder to explain. I didn't feel lonely because I lacked people. I felt lonely because I was never really with them. Not fully. Not in the way that counts when you look back. When I was younger, in my 20s and 30s, I thought I was doing everything right. I wasn't reckless. I wasn't cruel. I didn't abandon anyone. I went to work every day. I paid bills. I came home tired. I believed that was love. I believed showing up physically was enough. I worked long hours, not because anyone forced me to, but because it felt necessary, respectable, safe. Work gave me a reason to delay things I didn't know how to handle, conversations, emotions, stillness. My wife used to ask how my day was. I'd answer with facts, numbers, problems solved. She would nod, sometimes smile, sometimes go quiet. I thought that meant she understood. I didn't notice she stopped asking as often. The kids were small then. They wanted to show me drawings, tell me stories that went nowhere, ask questions without answers. I told myself I'd listen properly later, when things slowed down, when they were older and could talk like adults. I didn't know that later has a way of quietly disappearing. Weekends came and went, errands, yard work, visits to relatives where everyone talked at once and no one really listened. I was present in photos. You can see me there, standing slightly apart, smiling like a man who believes he belongs. At the time, none of this felt like a mistake. It felt normal. It felt responsible. That's what makes regret so dangerous. It doesn't announce itself. It waits. Loneliness didn't arrive suddenly. It seeped in through small cracks, missed dinners because of deadlines, conversations postponed because I was tired, moments where someone reached for me emotionally and I gave them logic instead. I remember one evening clearly. I was maybe 42. My wife was sitting at the kitchen table long after dinner. The kids were asleep. She said, "Do you ever feel like we're just managing a household instead of living a life?" I laughed, not mockingly, just lightly. I said, "That's what life is, isn't it?" She didn't laugh back. I think about that moment more than I should, not because of what she said, but because of how quickly I dismissed it. I didn't ask what she meant. I didn't sit down. I stood there, already halfway back to my thoughts. That was my pattern, always halfway somewhere else. As the years went on, the house got quieter, but not in the peaceful way people talk about. The kids grew into teenagers, then adults. They didn't need me the same way. Or maybe they stopped trying because I hadn't learned how to be needed emotionally. We still spoke, holidays, phone calls, polite concern. I told myself this was how families naturally drift, that closeness fades and independence replaces it. What I didn't admit was that I didn't know how to bridge the distance once it appeared. I had never practiced. The loneliness deepened, but it stayed subtle. I was busy. Busy as an excellent hiding place. I mistook exhaustion for purpose, silence for stability. Then came the losses. Not dramatic at first. A friend from work retired and moved away. Another got sick. We said we'd visit. We didn't. Someone I'd known for decades died, and I struggled to remember when we'd last had a real conversation. Funerals have a way of rearranging your thoughts. You stand there listening to stories about someone's life and realize how little of yours anyone could tell. My wife got ill in her late 60s, nothing sudden, a long, slow narrowing of the world, appointments, medications, adjustments. I took care of her the best I knew how. Meals, routines, logistics. One night, close to the end, she said very quietly, "I wish we'd talked more." I told her we had talked, about everything important. She shook her head, not angrily, just tired. She died a few weeks later. Peacefully, they said. I hope that's true. After that, the house didn't just feel quiet. It felt unfinished, like a conversation cut off mid-sentence, forever. That was the turning point. Not because everything suddenly made sense, but because there was no longer any way to avoid the silence. Loneliness became undeniable then, not sharp, heavy, settled. I realized I didn't know how to be with people without a role to perform, without a task, without a reason that testified my presence. Friends checked in at first, then less often. I don't blame them. I wasn't good at reaching out. My children tried. They visited. They asked if I was okay. I said yes, because I thought that was the kind thing to say. But every time they left, the quiet felt louder. That's when the understanding finally arrived. Slow, unwelcome, clear. I hadn't been lonely because I was alone. I was lonely because I never learned how to let myself be fully seen. I thought providing was the same as connecting. I thought showing up was the same as being present. There are things now that can't be fixed, conversations that will never happen, apologies that arrived too late to be heard. Time doesn't negotiate. It doesn't care that you finally understand. What remains is acceptance, not the peaceful kind people talk about, a quieter kind. I still have moments of gratitude, warm tea, sunlight on the floor, a call from one of the kids. If you recognize yourself, I won't tell you what to do. I only know what I wish I'd known. Loneliness isn't always about being alone. Sometimes it's about choosing usefulness over closeness. You don't notice the cost while you're paying it. You notice it when the bill is already settled. I'm not angry at my younger self. He did what he thought was right. As for me, I'll keep waking up early. I'll keep listening to the house breathe.
As for me, I'll keep waking up early. I'll keep listening to the house breathe. That's enough for now.